Japan on Sunday accused China of training its military radar on Japanese fighter jets very close to Okinawa. This is the latest flare-up between the two Asian neighbors, which is adding to tensions which have already escalated over the last few weeks. Japan's Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi held an emergency news conference shortly after 2 a.m. on Sunday to give out details of the events. He criticized the Chinese government, saying it had committed a dangerous act. And just hours later, China disputed the Japanese version of events, saying that the Chinese Navy had been holding regular training exercises in these waters, which were already intimated to all the countries in the region. Japan's defense ministry said it recorded two separate incidents on Saturday in which Chinese fighter jets directed radar that could have launched missile strikes at Japanese F-15 aircraft. Now, these Japanese F-15 fighter jets were flying over international waters just southeast of Okinawa. The area is very close to disputed islands that are claimed by both China and Japan. The Chinese aircraft were launched from the Liaoning, which is China's first aircraft carrier, which was doing routine exercises around these waters.
そうした中、昨日には中国軍機による自衛隊機へのレーダー照射事案が2回ありました。このような行動は航空機の安全な飛行に必要な範囲を超える危険な行為であり、中国側には強く抗議し、再発防止を厳重に申し入れたところです。
And now in response, Japan has summoned China's ambassador over this incident in which Chinese military aircraft allegedly twice locked fire control radars. The summoning of the ambassador, Wu Jianghao, came amid deeply strained relations between Beijing and Tokyo. China has unleashed a wave of political and economic reprisals against Japan in recent weeks over its support for Taiwan. Taiwan is a self-governed democracy which China claims as its own territory. This latest bust-up between Japan and China has put the entire region on the edge, with China stepping up patrols near these disputed islands and has also vowed to respond resolutely. Chinese officials took issue with Japan's claim that these fighter jets had locked in their radars. Wang Xiumeng, who's a spokesman for the Chinese Navy, said that the Chinese troops were carrying out routine carrier-based fighter jet training, which had already been announced well in advance. China accused Japan of slander and smear and asked Japan to strictly restrain its frontline actions. The Chinese Navy also said it took necessary measures in accordance with the law to resolutely safeguard its own security.
中方在有关海空域开展演训活动，符合国际法和国际惯例，相关操作专业规范，无可非议。舰载机在飞行训练时开启搜索雷达，是各国通常做法，也是确保飞行安全的正常操作。此次事件的关键是日本战斗机擅自闯入中方演训区域，对中方军事活动抵近侦察干扰，还恶人先告状，炒作所谓雷达照射问题，颠倒黑白，嫁祸于人，误导国际社会。
Relations between China and Japan deteriorated in early November when Japan's new Prime Minister Takaichi told the Japanese parliament that a hypothetical Chinese attack on Taiwan would incite a military response from Tokyo. China responded furiously, accusing Takaichi of crossing a red line and demanding a retraction. She later clarified and she said that her remarks had been blown out of context, but she didn't apologize. In response, China appeared to be increasing the scale and scope of the exercises being carried out by the People's Liberation Army, very close to Japan, as it has done in previous disputes. China is hoping to condition the entire region around Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines to accept greater Chinese military activity, particularly to deter any potential Japanese or even American response if China were to launch an armed attack on Taiwan. To punish Japan, the Chinese government has urged millions of tourists to avoid Japan. It has restricted Japanese seafood imports. It has increased military patrols around these disputed waters. It has also tried to curb Japanese culture in mainland China. China has cancelled events by Japanese pop stars. It has halted the release of Japanese films. China happens to be the single largest source of tourists who visit Japan, sending over 7 million tourists every year. But this is not the first time that Chinese and Japanese fighter jets have locked radar on each other. This is the latest fighter jet episode that happened over the weekend. It's very similar to another flare-up that happened in 2013, when Tokyo accused Beijing of directing military radars at a Japanese naval vessel, again very close to these disputed islands. China also denied that accusation 10 years ago, saying that Japan was simply trying to fan tensions. The Trump administration has been watching these developments very closely, but it has not gotten itself involved too much. Last week, the Trump White House released a strategy document which said that it aims to prevent conflict with China over Taiwan and the South China Sea by building up America's military power in an overwhelming way. America has always maintained a degree of strategic ambiguity on what happens if China were to attack Taiwan. The strategy documents seem to outline that America will lean on the side of non-intervention militarily if that were to happen. President Trump, who plans to visit Beijing next April for trade talks, telephoned Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi last month, urging her not to escalate the dispute with China over Taiwan. Takaichi agreed to comply. Japan hosts the largest presence of American troops and military hardware anywhere in Asia. That phone call between Trump and Takaichi followed a conversation between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping told Trump that Taiwan's return to China was central to Beijing's vision for the world order. He also framed it as an unfinished part of post-World War II global order when Japan officially controlled Taiwan and later surrendered it to the Allied forces. Taiwan, which is home to more than 20 million people, also produces more than 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. And that is a key factor that will determine the shape and form of an armed conflict, if at all one were to break out between China and Japan over Taiwan.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.